free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine!
Free, free, free Palestine!
What do we want?
Justice!
And when do we want it?
Now!
We are here to stand up against injustice in Palestine and anywhere across the world. It's been 4 months, 120 days of continuous slaughter inflicted by large part on the children and women of our beloved Palestinian people in Gaza. Vengeful Israeli forces of aggression have deliberately and unjustifiably obliterated more than 85% of Gaza. Over 28,000 Gazan civilians have been unjustly murdered by Israel, backed by the unconditional support of Joe Biden and his administration. When compared to the total current US population, the staggering number of murdered Palestinians is equivalent to the populations of Austin and San Antonio. Think about that for a moment. And that is not all. Over 65,000 Gazans have been injured or are missing and presumed dead. Almost 2 million Gazans, or more than 80% of the entire population, are internally displaced. That is the equivalent of displacing nearly the entire population of the Austin metro. A little more than a week ago, the International Court of Justice, the World Court, adopted provisional measures or binding orders that include requirements requiring Israel to prevent genocide against Palestinians in Gaza, to enable the provision of essential services and humanitarian assistance, and to prevent and punish incitement to commit genocide. Since then, the US has continued to supply Israel with weapons, and Israel has continued its unjustifiable mass slaughter. The historic decision by the ICJ is the first step towards holding Israel accountable for its criminal behavior and ongoing genocide in Palestine. We look forward to the day when all war criminals, especially Israel and its enablers, are held responsible for their crimes against humanity. From this moment forward, our community must not and will not vote for politicians who are partners of Israel in its genocide against the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip. We will not cast votes for war criminals and their enablers, including President Joe Biden and Donald Trump. All candidates must earn the votes of our community and must not take our support for granted. As responsible citizens, we will participate in every election cycle and vote for candidates who care for the humanity of our brethren in Palestine, in Palestine, and those that have the courage to call for an immediate and unconditional ceasefire now. Today's gathering is a beautiful example of what we can achieve when united in support of humanity and justice. We believe in the inalienable right of everyone to live with freedom, peace, and dignity. We also unequivocally reject all forms of discrimination and racial bias, be it anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, anti-Arab or anti-Palestinian sentiment. We are united in the fight against all forms of oppression and biases based on ethnicity, color, gender, economic status, religious belief, or who someone loves. We are here to stand together in calling for a permanent ceasefire of the unjust war against our Palestinian people. We also call for an end to the misguided financing of Israel and its continuous aggression against its neighbors. Most importantly, it is high time that we band together to end the illegal Israeli military occupation of Palestine and dismantle the apartheid regime in the Holy Land. Let's live by the words of President Nelson Mandela, who said, "We know too well that our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of the Palestinians." Thank you all, and long live Palestine!
I pledge allegiance to the body bags of the states divided by America and to the Republic of Stolen Land, one nation ruled by bombs, so divisible, where liberty and justice is null. This I do declare and hold to be self-evidently true. Many of our parents risked everything they knew to pursue a better life, the American dream, bootstraps pulled up to climb purple mountains, majestying an opportunity for renewal like a mighty stream. But the dream they knew was really a nightmare asleep. Their descendants would be haunted with never-ending screams, rendered lifeless by a few in this soulless regime that sucks our souls for revenue, props us up for diversity, then turns around and bombs our loved ones to smithereens. They say they don't discriminate as they kill us indiscriminately. Blood streaming on our live streams, our people on the menu, and before we knew it, we became part of what we thought we outgrew. No amount of money, status, or class can erase this deja vu, but a dream is not just something you look up to, it is something you create and live up to. Reparations and justice are long overdue. Do you notice the parallels, the patterns, the themes? This won't work unless we're all on the same team. America told us we are fruits and then squeezed us dry, quietly manufactured multiple genocides, 40 babies, weapons of mass destruction. Where else have they lied? And when confronted, their sheeps have blindfolds over their eyes, chanting 4 more years. Red, blue, white are starting to all look alike. We are here for Palestine, but that's not the only reason we cry. Our tax dollars hard at work, keeping drones in our people's skies. But when we say we are complicit, we must also confront the dictators inside. No matter how high up the ladder we've climbed, the shiny cars, the shoes, the fancy homes we buy, a child back home works for a few pennies to scrape by. Workers mistreated for the sake of our Amazon primes. Someone somewhere profits, no matter how much we deny. Change is a verb, it must start from our own crimes. Demand to end this endless supply. Undoing this harm is enough work for a lifetime. America the beautiful, an empire built on ugly lies. Don't let them slide. Fearlessly confront those attempting to quell this rising tide, like a people on the brink of revolutionary suicide. Take pride in our power, but let not powers divide us. One day our hands will no doubt testify. Do you see how it's all connected? So we must pick a side and form a more perfect union. No time to run and hide. So are you awake now? Do you see how high the stakes are? How are we all showing up to take fascism down? It will take all of us. The fathers, the mothers, the youth, the elders, the shakers, the fighters, the movers, peacemakers. Let's make a vow to remake a world where our children won't drown, to break the walls, and not just the ones we see, but the ones that overtake us without making a sound. Look around at how lucky we are to be with each other right now. United for Palestine, the time is now. Let the world quake, for liberation is not just a promise, it's a countdown. God says he will not change a people unless they change their own. Let this protest not be your one free throw. There are more than 1 million ways to rise up and show. Liberation is a marathon. We've got a long way to go. Though we keep saying no to Genocide Joe, we can't even agree on how we will all vote. The only thing we have to give up is the status quo. The prophet once said, "Whoever among you sees evil, let him change it with his hand. If he cannot do so, then with his tongue. If he cannot do so, then with his heart, even if it is the lowest of the low." So whatever you do, just know, blood may be thicker than water, but our hands linked together prevent both from flowing. The time for apartheid's over. Go protest, rally, stop the bulldozers, the bombs, the ships, war crime cash flow. Write the resolutions, the petitions, the poems. Show up to city council, but also your prayer rugs back home. We won't win this without God's mercy bestowed. Only then can we live in a world worthy of being called home. Thank you.
Now is the time to confront the real evil that has been visited upon the people of Gaza. Yes, the tragedy of October 7th was terrible, but the relentless ravages of this unjust war on Gaza is far more horrific. Now is the time for all men of goodwill and justice to come together to fight against that which has no boundaries, the evil called hatred and greed, which can lead to the dehumanization of folks that you don't like. And when you dehumanize, people become numbers without faces, feelings, or emotions. When you hate, it is easy to justify atrocities and genocide. But not today. Not today. Not this day. This day, we stand like a tree planted by the rivers of water. This day, we call upon the world to remind every nation those who are dying and suffering are just as human as we are. Over 26,000 unjust deaths and untold injured and maimed in Gaza. These are not just numbers. They are families, brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers, sons and our daughters, struggling to survive and live their God-given life with human dignity. We get sick, they get sick. We need medicine, they need medicine to survive. There is nothing hard in this to argue. Nothing hard. Pregnant mothers, newborn, the elderly, just trying to keep warm. There's nothing hard in this to argue. Kids taking care of kids because their Palestinian parents have been killed by this so-called war on Hamas. And I submit to you today that the war on Hamas has long since passed. And what we have now is nothing more than naked aggression. Perpetrated by would-be dictator seeking to outrun the arm of the law and justice, but eventually justice will catch up to him and it will be done upon him. The horrors perpetrated by this war is rejected by the vast majority of Americans who are enraged. Black and white, Protestant and Catholic, and even the Jewish Americans are enraged by this naked aggression of the Israeli Prime Minister and the IDF. We are here today. We must make it clear to all, rejecting the human rights of the Palestinians is a threat to human rights throughout the rest of the world. And on this day, we stand in one accord to insist that our Congress, that our president, that our nation remember its creed and hold fast to, without wavering, to the foundation that all of humanity is precious. And I say to you today in closing, there comes that time in human history in which you will stand or you will slink into the shadows. This is your hour. This is our moment in which we stand. And we stand because right. We stand because right is on our side. We stand because the vast majority of Americans are on our side. We stand because the world is on our side. And we stand because God Almighty is on our side.
Viva, viva Palestina! Viva, viva Palestina!
It's a story about my family and how I've lost 171% more family members in the past 4 months than an average person has in their entire lifetime. In the past few months, life has thrown some really difficult challenges our way. My family has faced things we've never expected. Imagine finding out your family was murdered on the news. That's what happened to me just 3 weeks ago. The reporter showed a pile of rubble, and underneath it were my loved ones. Imagine the sheer horror, realizing your family's fate through a television screen. A few weeks ago, I received some horrifying news about my uncles Harbi and Mohammed and my cousin Ammar, who were on their way to treat wounded civilians. Their car was hit by an Israeli missile, blowing all three of them into pieces. I literally mean pieces. Harbi's wife, Ra'ida, had to pick up their bodies limb by limb before the starving animals got to it. Mohammed's wife, Aman, who survived the attack with a grievous wound, was turned away from the hospital due to insufficient capacity. Mohammed and Aman just had a baby after 16 years of trying, and now their daughter will never get to hear him call him Baba. Here's the moment I want all of us to reflect on. Raise your hand if you slept last night without wondering if you would wake up to your house collapsing on top of you. Raise your hand if you slept last night without wondering if you would wake up to your house collapsing on top of you. 2 weeks ago, that exact scenario happened to my aunt's family. They were sleeping when their home was bombed with no prior warning. Realizing that if they didn't evacuate in seconds, they would have been killed. My aunt Rona was left with a head injury that could have escalated to something much worse had she not woken up from her sleep in time. Just last Wednesday, my cousin Rona celebrated her birthday in a way she never imagined, by praying that it wouldn't become her death day. This is the reality my family is dealing with. The possibility that every moment of joy could quickly end with another loss of a family member. Instead of celebrating the New Year's with fireworks, my family in Gaza faced continuous bombings that took the life of my uncle on New Year's Day. My cousin Ahmed, who's just a teenager like myself, had his world turned upside down. The Israeli missile not only robbed him and his siblings of their father, but thrust Ahmed into a role where he must now fulfill the roles of a provider, protector, and emotional support for his mother and siblings. He started 2024 not with the promise of a happy new year, but with a disturbing set of responsibilities and challenges for a teenager. On a call with my aunt, she told me that her son, Majd, who is only 4 years old, asked her the last question any mother wants to hear from her children. He asked if it's time for him to die. He hasn't even had a chance to live his life yet, and he's already terrified of death. I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm asking for understanding and support. When I talk about the 41 members of my family who were killed, I'm not just throwing numbers at you. I want you to see them as real people with dreams, goals, and memories, just like each one of you. Before I finish, I have a heartfelt request. I know we can't change the past, but together, we can shape the future. I ask each of you to take a moment to reflect on the lives lost, not just as a story, but as a shared responsibility. I'm not asking for raised hands. I'm asking for raised voices, for solidarity that goes beyond this moment. My family is counting on us. Show my family that they will not have to suffer anymore. Free, free, free Palestine! 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 May Allah bless y'all. Thank you.
I only worry about my people and my community, so it has nothing to do with me. I work hard to put a roof over my family and food on the table, so I'm not going to get involved in the things that happen on the other side of the world. And to those people, I'm speaking directly. Our struggles are the Palestinian struggles, and the Palestinian struggle is our struggle as well. Because look at how they exploit our parents in building their big cities without paying them almost anything and without health protections. Look at how they put our children in cages on the border. Look at how they ruin the lives of our cousins, locking them in jail for no good reason. What they are doing in our communities, they have been doing for 75 years in Palestine. Only now they are dropping bombs to destroy their homes and schools and hospitals. Now we can see on our phones how they prevent aid from entering Gaza to help people not die from hunger.
Our struggle is the Palestinian struggle. The same police who abuse and arrest us at much higher rate than those of white people go to Israel to train on how to see us. Brown, black, indigenous, Chicano, Latino people, they treat us like dogs. Worse. Governor Abbott hates us. And from the beginning of the genocide, he has been sending millions of dollars to Israel to support them in their attacks on the Palestinian people. Our struggle is the Palestinian struggle. Those in power want you to separate yourself from what they are doing in Palestine. They want you to look and say, it's happening over there, so it's not my problem. Because if we really realize how interconnected our struggles are, our power as a united people would never be defeated. It is not a matter of religion or race. This is a struggle of the indigenous people against the people who steal the land and exploit the people who have made their lives there for thousands of years. Our enemies do not have a skin color or a way of being, but they are those who have the power and the money and who actively make our lives worse. My beautiful people, the Palestinian struggle is our struggle, and our struggle is the Palestinian struggle. Because no one is free until we are all free. The people united will never be defeated. La gente unida jamás será vencida. Thank you and free Palestine.
I spent the most formative years of my life in the special operations and military intelligence community, so you could probably say I have an inside perspective on how the imperialist sausage is made. The lies we tell you and the lies we tell ourselves. I got into the military mostly in protest against America's forever wars and against the long-standing foreign policy position designed specifically to justify interventionism around the globe. And I was pessimistic that that position could never be challenged or changed until we witnessed in real time the blithe and unmitigated brutality of occupation forces in Gaza and West Bank, which stands in stark contrast to the fortitude and mystifying resolve of the Palestinian people. Until we saw our elected officials and representatives serve before us the interests of a foreign entity, thereby risking and continuing to risk a continental war of annihilation. Palestine has pulled back the curtain for millions of people in the West. When I first went public on social media on October 11th, after seeing 2,000-pound bombs dropped in civilian neighborhood and the specific and subsequent state policy of directly targeting hospitals, my message was simple. They're intentionally targeting civilians. Everything they do violates the law of land warfare, and they are going to lose, and they're rushing towards a strategic defeat from which they will never recover. And even though the geopolitical dimensions of this genocide have spread throughout the globe, those aspects have not changed. I know a lot of people feel hopeless and powerless right now, especially in the face of the monolithic corruption and Islamophobia of Western governments. Our interests are not being represented, and as the bombs continue to fall and the extrajudicial killings continue to mount and disease continues to spread and Rafah is targeted, and aid is blocked, and cemeteries and holy sites are desecrated, just remember what people have been saying all along. Palestine will free us all. Its example, its courage. Our politicians cynically expected us to lose interest after time and to go back to our lives like it was 2001 or 2003 again. But it's a different time, and social media, amongst other things, have broken down the intentionally constructed East-West media and information divide. The old lies won't work anymore. We see children slaughtered every day by a foreign entity to which we gave last year enough money to end homelessness in America. And we're not going to stop, and we're not going to forget, we're not going to stand idly by while our government repeats its old modus operandi of bombing the poorest countries on earth for the sake of foreign special interests, for Boeing, for Raytheon, for General Dynamics, the merchants of death, and the energy sector. For the interests of a tiny few, we, I believe, have passed a point of no return. Gone are the days when imperial war will go unchallenged. And gone are the days when they can hide it. We in the West must stand in solidarity with Palestine and our brothers and sisters in the Middle East because it's morally right and because we suffer due to the same power structures and the same lies. A ceasefire will happen. It's an inevitability at this point, and this bloody regime will eventually crumble. But those are just the opening moves of this long campaign. We won't stop talking about Palestine. We won't stop demonstrating or boycotting. We're not going away. The past 4 months have changed everybody irrevocably. It's just a part of life now. They've already lost. They just don't know it yet. Thanks for your time. Defund Israel. Ceasefire now. Get it over with.
President Biden declared to the whole world, if you harm an American, we will respond. Well, President Biden, I have some more American names for you. Rachel Corrie, murdered by the Israeli military on March 16th, 2003. Omar Assad, murdered by the Israeli military on January 12th, 2022. Shireen Abu Akleh, assassinated by the Israeli military on May 11th, 2022. And Tawfiq Ajak, just last week, shot in the head by the Israeli military on January 19th, 2024. What does he think about those Americans? He doesn't care. And we say, shame! We say, shame! We stand here today in their names. And finally, if there's any speakers who are still here, please come up behind me, any speakers or organizers. Especially you two have been holding these signs all day long, Abdul and Gabrielle. Come up here. Any of the speakers that are still here, please come up, stand up here. The number one thing that they will say about you to distort everything, they will say that we are a group of people who hate. But we were here today with Arabs, Palestinians, Muslims, Jews, Christians, Latino, Black, everybody standing up here on the stage today. They will say that we are a people full of hate. Do we hate people for who they are? Do we hate people for who they are? We hate racism, we hate occupation, we hate apartheid, but we do not hate anybody for who they are. We are a people full of love. We are a people full of love. We are a people full of what? Love. We are a people full of what? Love. So before we march, I want you to look at the person on your right and look at the person on your left and tell them, thank you for coming today. Say it again, thank you for coming today. Now look at these people and tell them in a loud voice, I'm proud of you. Tell them again, I'm proud of you. Now look at these people and tell them, I love you. I love you. Because we are a people full of what? A people full of what? Don't let them get it twisted. We are on the right side of history. If Malcolm X were here today, he would say, free, free Palestine. If Martin Luther King were here today, he would say, free, free Palestine. If Rosa Parks were here today, she would say, free, free Palestine. If Nelson Mandela were here today, he would say, free, free Palestine. If Cesar Chavez were here today, he would say, free, free Palestine. If the Prophet Muhammad were here today, he would say, free, free Palestine. And don't even forget about it. If Jesus were here today, he would be marching with us, saying, free, free Palestine. Free, free Palestine.
After 120 days, Israel is still committing genocide, killing babies, children, women, journalists, doctors. Shame! Shame! Palestinians in Gaza, are eating grass and drinking polluted water as famine looms over Gaza. For God's sake, they are grinding animal feed as a flour alternative because of hunger and famine. Shame! In Gaza, doctors have been operating in women and kids without anesthesia. Shame! Israel has displaced more than 1.9 million Palestinians in Gaza. Shame! The war on Gaza is not about freeing hostages. It's about genocide, ethnic cleansing, and driving the Palestinians out of Gaza. Shame! We have Israeli ministers who are calling for the erasure of Gaza, the eradication of Palestinians in Gaza. Shame! Some other ministers, they are calling for using nuclear weapons against our Muslim brothers and Palestinians in Gaza. Shame! We also how the Palestinian old man who was raising a flag, a white flag, has been shot by a sniper in cold blood. Shame! You know what? Israel can kill as many Palestinians as they can, but the Palestinian people will never surrender, will never be defeated. Palestinians have patience, resilience, and they have been standing against genocide, against ethnic cleansing, against oppression, against apartheid for the past 100 years. You will not defeat Palestinians. As for our government, the US government, Israel is using American-made weapon and American tax dollars to kill women and children in Gaza and in the West Bank. Shame! Biden, Genocide Joe, he is on the wrong side of history. 70% of Americans, they want ceasefire now. 50% of the American people, they said that Israel has exceeded the limits in its retaliation against Gaza. Biden should respect the will of the American people and stop sending more weapons and more money to support genocide. The Biden administration, they claim that they stand against ethnic cleansing, while they are enabling the ethnic cleansing with the massive amounts of money and arms sales, and he is also not going to the Congress to get the okay for it. He's sending them the weapon directly. Shame! Brothers and sisters, our political leaders have failed Gaza, have failed us. So pressure has to come from you, from you, from you. Are you ready? For God's sake, we have politicians like Brian Mast from Florida who said that the Palestinian babies killed in Gaza are not innocent Palestinian civilians. Shame! Shame! You got other hypocrite politicians like Nancy Pelosi who wants you to be investigated by the FBI for standing for Gaza. Shame! She thinks that you are working for Putin and for Russia. When you stand for Palestine, you work for Putin and for Russia. Shame on her. In November, we will remember. In November, we will only vote for candidates who have the courage and who have the charisma and who stands for justice and who stands for the freedom of the Palestinians and who are calling for ceasefire. We should not vote for the cowards who do not dare to call for ceasefire, and on the top of them, Genocide Joe. Brothers and sisters, thank you for coming to Austin from Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, from the cities all over Texas to show support and solidarity with Palestine. Silence is not an option. Silence is complicity. You refused to be silent while Palestinians' families are being slaughtered in Gaza and the West Bank. As Americans, we must oppose the ongoing Israeli assault on Gaza. Nothing can justify this genocide. Your voices are very important. Your voices are being heard by the people of Gaza, by people like Wael al-Dahdoh. Give a loud shout for Wael al-Dahdoh. By people like Mu'taz, and by all the children who are living in Gaza and the West Bank. Believe me, they are listening to your voices. They are watching you and they are paying attention to your demonstrations, to your protest against the genocide. You represent justice. You represent the strength of community, and you show the importance and the power of collective efforts. You have inspired congressional staffers, even in the Biden administration, also the Blinken administration, and in the Biden, to stand up and show solidarity with Palestine. And in this regard, we would like to thank Tariq Habash, who resigned over the oppression of the Palestinians. Give him a loud shout. And you know what? We should always give a loud shout for South Africa. Give a loud shout. Mandela said that our freedom will not be complete until Palestinians are free. If Mandela was alive, or Dr. Martin Luther King is alive, they will be with us here today, calling for justice, standing against genocide, and calling for ceasefire. Free Palestine.
This month is the month of February, the shortest month of the year. But it's also Black History Month. Our black brothers and sisters arrived into this country as cargo in the hulls of ships. Yet they have been able, time and time again, to rise up, to struggle, to resist, to define the moral, ethical trajectory of this country. We could speak of Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Harriet Tubman, Angela Davis. Black Lives Matter. When we speak today, we are speaking on the shoulders of those who defined and continue to redefine what America possibility it is. Now we're here in the streets of Austin but we're speaking to the streets of Gaza, Khan Yunis, Shuja'iyya. We're speaking to those in Nablus, in Jenin, Tol Karim, Haifa, Akka, and every place. And we say unequivocally, for those who make themselves unable to hear, that Palestine will be free. What do Palestinians want? Some say it's complicated. Again, nuclear physics is complicated. Fuzzy math is complicated. Having a recipe that comes out right is complicated. There is nothing complicated about the demand and the desire for justice and liberty. Palestinians for 100 years have been demanding, struggling, fighting, resisting for freedom. Freedom! Freedom is what the Palestinians want. Now, history is very important for us. It is not coincidental that South Africa is the country that takes Israel to the International Court of Justice. It is not coincidence. South Africa was the last settler colonial project to collapse in Africa. When Nelson Mandela came out of that jail, that was the end of settler colonialism in the continent of Africa. From the 1884 Berlin Conference to the key that opened the jail doors, which many of us in this country and across the world were in the streets, but those in the halls of power were cooperating with South Africa. It is not coincidence. We need to understand, Palestine was the last settler colonial project to be commissioned, not in 1948, but in 1917. Palestine was colonized in 1917 by a country that was called Great Britain. And we'll say, Alhamdulillah, it's no longer great, because only God is great. Great Britain at the time was not concerned about the Arabs. And don't let Johnny come lately talking about anti-Semitism. They had no love for the Jews or love for the Arab Palestinians and Muslims. The only thing that they care about, and they continue to care about today, is the mighty dollar and the mighty pound. They wanted to secure their trade route through the Red Sea and the Suez Canal. Let me tell you about Great Britain. Have you ever seen their weddings? I have never seen a drug cartel and a criminal enterprise show all of the things that they have stolen. Britain took $45 trillion worth of wealth from India. When they arrived to India, India was accounting for 24% of the global GDP. When they left it, they reduced it to 3% of the GDP. When you visit the Louvre or the British London Museum, you're actually going to see the den of thieves. Ali Baba and the 40 thieves. Ali Baba is sent to Guantanamo Bay, and the 40 thieves are displaying what they stole from the global south. Now we're speaking about genocide. Genocide is what Israel is doing right now. Killing civilians is an act of genocide. Bombing hospitals is an act of genocide. Bombing schools is an act of genocide. Bombing 14 universities and detonating bombs in them is an act of genocide. Now, not only that Israel is accused and charged of genocide, possibility of genocide by the International Court of Justice, But South Africa is submitted a claim against the United States and Britain of being complicit in the act of genocide. Let me tell Biden or Latte Nancy Pelosi, who thinks that we are taking a phone call from Putin to be out here. Niet, we don't need Putin for us to see genocide and come out in the streets. Then the next day, she goes fully racist. She tells us to go and check with China. Talk about being racist toward Asians. In San Francisco, right next to Chinatown, you tell activists from AMP, from Jewish Voice for Peace, from Code Pink to go and check or go back to China. Nancy Pelosi, I know it's difficult. Her latte was cold. She couldn't think, but that's okay. It's a passé. Complicity in genocide. Complicity in genocide. I tell Biden the following. Every time that Israel is bombing in Gaza, you're losing a vote in Michigan. Every time that Israel is bombing a hospital, you're losing a vote in Georgia. Every time that you're allowing Israel to bomb another school, you're losing a vote in Minnesota. Every time that you're sending weapons and aid to Israel, you're losing all of our voice. We are not gonna vote for a Genocide Joe. And you cannot try to play around, because again, I need to talk to some of the Muslims in here, that we're gonna actually get Muslims, we're gonna work on Islamophobia. Sending weapons to Israel is Islamophobia, Mr. President. And if you can select a few Muslims that think that adab, courtesy of not insulting somebody that is committing to genocide, that is gonna shut us up, we are not being silent. Gaza transformed Muslims, Arabs, Palestinians, our Jewish brothers and sisters, transforms the whole world. People are courageous. People are coming out to challenge power. People are no longer accepting the unacceptable, witnessing genocide by the minute. The first time in history that genocide is being live streamed. So we'll tell you, we are not gonna accept trying to give us crumbs on a table that is not set by us. We need to be not only on the table, but we need to decide the menu. We need to be in the kitchen cooking. We need to renovate the whole White House, because it needs to be a black house before it is actually a White House. I want to really congratulate all the students on the college campuses. If you're part of MSA, if you're part of the SJP, if you're part of the political organizing on campus, don't let anybody silence you. Don't let anybody silence you. Don't let anyone tell you that you're disturbing the campus climate. If there is genocide, there should not be a campus climate other than a climate for justice. Go back. Organize more on campus. Demand Palestinian classes. Demand a Palestinian studies program. Demand a Middle Eastern studies program that are taught by people. Demand for Edward Said to be taught. Demand the projects and materials that teach all of the poets, all of the contributors of Palestine.
I literally just got back from Houston from a funeral. My good friend's grandma passed away, and I wanted to go to support that. And literally got back here maybe like 1:15. And I'm sharing this because I think as I'm watching my friend, who is like the successful one in the family, you know, plan all the stuff, do all the things, and to see him struggle with the death of the matriarch in their family, it was really difficult. And then it made me think about, you know, what I'm gonna do when my grandma passes away. I know none of you people know me, but my mom passed away when I was 7 years old. So I was raised by my grandma, and that made me start thinking about my grandma. But the reason I rushed back today is Although that we were mourning the loss of this woman that was 90-something years old, I could not stop thinking about these 20,000, almost 30,000 kids that have not even had a first birthday, that have been killed and slaughtered and slain because of this colonialism, this colonial quest, and this genocide that is happening in Palestine. And I think that's important because as a Black American, I don't forget the people that showed up for us in 2020 with George Floyd. We had Palestinian brothers and sisters however many miles away that showed up day in and day out in the name of Black Lives Matter, and I'd be damned if I sit on the sideline when they need us. And I say that to say, I'm gonna go a little bit over because I think we also need to stop. I think we need to decolonize the way we organize, right? As people of color, we don't believe in time, right? We have to move, as long as it feels good, then like, let's just be here together, we're in community. They can't push us out of here all at one time anyway. So I'm gonna take my time and talk to my people. So, I think a few things are important and I'm gonna get out the way. One, I want people to know that somebody said, somebody saw I was speaking at this and it was like, I'm glad AJC is finally showing up. I took a little bit of offense to that because what they don't know is that we were working the back end of these cowards at City Hall trying to get them to do the right thing. These same cowards that say that we don't want to do a ceasefire because it's not a local issue when they do stuff all the time in South America and in Paris and all these other places. But they can't find the courage and the basic decency to do something really simple, just say, you know what, a ceasefire is gonna save lives across the board, and a ceasefire is gonna be something that we can just easily do, but we can't get anybody at City Council to stand up and do the right thing in the name of humanity. Also, I want people to know that, we've been sending out emails, hot to my brother. The reason I rushed back today, we sent out emails about all the rallies and the protests that many of you young folks and Palestinian brothers and sisters have been leading in Austin. And you know how many emails we got that say we can no longer support AJC because you support terrorism? I was like, well, you know what? If you don't want to give us your money anyway, well, fuck it, we don't care. Because in white liberal Austin, the white liberals only like me when I'm saying things that make them feel good. And if it's wrong for me to support my Palestinian brothers and sisters and to call this what it is, because it is a genocide. When you have Israeli government officials saying we need to wipe them out, we need to get rid of them, we need to erase them from their land to make it our own, that is colonialism and genocide at its finest. And to be even more clear, right? We're not talking about all Jews. Big shout out to Jewish Voices for Peace that understand at the very essence of Zionism, it's hypocrisy to use what happened to your people and now do it to another group of people. You got ADL saying not ever again, but here they are condoning what's going on with the Israel government and what's going on with this genocide in Palestine. And then anytime you criticize Israel or anytime you call out Zionism, you're being anti-Semitic.
Bullshit.
When I say to hell with that, we have to start calling things by their names. Also, I want to challenge us to stop calling. I understand, common language, but I was floored when I heard about Palestine. Why do we keep trying to make this comfortable for Western colonial and using that language? It's Palestine. Let's call it by its mother's maiden name. So I'm gonna get out of here because I know he's standing ready to rush me out the way, but I just wanna say to each and every one of you, keep showing up. Even though it looks like we're not gonna win, we always win. The people always win when we show up together, when we are willing to collectively struggle, when we're willing to collectively grieve, right? And it's okay if you don't have the strength to show up every day and every march and rally, that's okay, because I also think it's important to understand there is a fucking genocide going on that has to weigh on everybody in this crowd. It's not normal to just get up and go to work and act like it's normal when 27,000 kids won't get to celebrate a first birthday. It's okay to not be normal when Israel is blowing up governments and churches and hospitals. It's okay to feel that. It's okay to be human. And that is why we need one another, because we all feel this grief. So from Ferguson, Missouri, to Austin, Texas with Mike Ramos, and from the river to the goddamn sea, we're gonna continue to fight. So from this black American, from this black Texan, I just want to say, my Palestinian brothers and sisters, I love you, and we will fight, and we will win, and we will fight, and we will win, and we will free Palestine, because it's gonna be free.
I swear by Allah, we're not like the leaders of our government. By Allah, we're not like those cowards. We haven't forgotten you. There isn't one day that goes by that we don't pray for you. We have Muslims and Jews and Christians. There isn't 1 hour that goes by that we don't shed tears in remembrance of your struggle. There isn't 1 second that goes by that our hearts don't tremble for the atrocities that we see every day. We, the African American community, we stand by you because your struggle is our struggle. Keep fighting, keep standing firm, keep holding your heads high. They have taken your life at an astronomical rate, 25,000 dead, 10,000 children. They have taken your liberty. They have put sieges on you, blockades, no food. But one thing they can never take is your pursuit of happiness. Because they don't control your emotional state. You have ignited a fuel inside of us. The fight will continue. It didn't start with you, and it won't end with you. As long as one of us is alive, then the remembrance of all of us will continue. From the river to the sea. From the river to the sea. Palestine will be free. Palestine will be free. من المياه للمياه. من المياه للمياه. فلسطين عربية. فلسطين عربية.
I am here joining in your grief, your mourning, your rage, joining in your hope, your power. As we bear witness to Israel's genocide of the Palestinian people in real time, our grief is so profound. But we must not mistake this grief for hopelessness. It teaches us that we have not lost our humanity. We must not turn away. As we learn from our movement elders, we must mourn the dead, and we must fight like hell for the living. I stand here today as a descendant of survivors of Nazi genocide, and my ancestors compel me to be here, to cry out to the heavens, not in my name, not in my name. I stand on the shoulders of anti-Zionist Jews and activists from whom I inherit my strong convictions against war, against violence in every instance. I represent a Judaism that rejects vengeance. A Judaism that stands in solidarity with the Palestinian struggle for liberation. A Judaism that calls for ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Let's be clear. Judaism has existed for thousands of years outside of Zionism. A Judaism beyond Zionism not only exists, it is the only kind worthy of its name. Jewish tradition teaches me that my safety and liberation is bound up with the safety and liberation of the Palestinian people and with every single one of you here today. My tradition is that of life for everyone, always. I refuse to relinquish my Judaism to those who wish to turn it to the idolatry of nationalism. Right now, our leaders are stoking flames of hatred and justifying genocide in the name of Jewish safety. Shame. We know this is a lie. It does not keep anyone safe. It neither saves lives in the present or the future. Ethnic cleansing and genocide do nothing to address anti-Semitism. The slaughtering of Palestinians in Gaza and in the West Bank is ending the possibility of a future for anyone in Palestine. And we feel the reverberations around the world. To shift the tide requires nothing short of a multicultural, interfaith, mass movement that refuses to rest until we end Israel's genocidal war. And that is what we are doing here today. That means crying out, ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! It means an end to U.S. military aid to Israel now! It means an end to the siege on Gaza now! It means an end to occupation and apartheid now! I will continue to dream of a reality in which all children, especially Palestinian children, grow old in a world bursting at the seams with food, with medicine, with beauty for all. I will continue to dream of a reality of Palestinian joy and thriving culture in Gaza and beyond. A world where we gather in the thousands like this to celebrate life. Will you share this dream with me? And here, in this very moment, I invite you to lean into relationship, to hold your loved ones a little closer, to come a little tighter, to love a little deeper. Reach out to your neighbor, break bread together, share tales of your ancestors. You can borrow mine if you need help getting started. We stand here today sending love and gratitude to the people of Gaza, to the people of Palestine, all throughout the land and the diaspora, and we say, your fight is our fight. We will continue to do everything we can until you are free, until we all are free. We do this together. We need every single one of us. And I say, can you hear it, song? May it be so. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi Lani, from our friends and allies in the Jewish community, Jewish Voice for Peace.
blessings be upon everybody. If you're here to support the people of Palestine, make some noise! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now!
I am proud that the Austin Central Labor Council was among the first labor councils in this country to call for a ceasefire. And I'm proud that the Texas AFL-CIO at their convention last weekend was the first state labor federation to call for a ceasefire. Now, why is this important to the labor movement? Well, many points are out there. Because of time, I'm going to share three brief ones, but they can be summed up by one word: solidarity. We know that the things we organize for here in Texas, in our communities, are the same things that people all over the world organize for, want, and need. Food, shelter, healthcare, good jobs, education for the kids. These things we organize for here, and our common humanity calls out to us. That is one of the main reasons why it's important to us. We are tied by our common humanity. We cannot shut our eyes to genocide. We cannot sit silent when people are starved. We must stand in solidarity. Second point, as union members, we have learned that although as individuals we may be small, we may be weak, when we stand together, we are strong. We know that without our brain and muscle, not a single wheel can turn. Nothing gets done in this world without the workers. So we hear the calls for solidarity from workers in Palestine. The Palestinian General Federation of Trade Unions has called for trade unions and workers everywhere to refuse to build and transport weapons destined for Israel, to pass motions in our trade unions and federations to this effect, to use our production power, our economic power to disrupt disrupt companies that are complicit and involved in this brutal and illegal siege, and to pressure governments at all levels, local, state, federal, at all levels, to stop funding genocide, stop the military trade. To our union siblings in Palestine, we hear your call, solidarity. My third and final point, we have intertwined destinies. When others are made safer, we are made safer. As the letter signed by the Austin Central Labor Council states, the road to justice cannot be paved by bombs and war. The road to peace cannot be found through warfare. So talk to your coworkers, form a union, join your union. If there is no union in your workplace, go to workerorganizing.org and make a union. Use every power that you have to stop this. Solidarity.
We must recognize that this is not just their struggle. This is our struggle against the powers of Zionism, imperialism, colonialism, and capitalism, which are all perpetrating in the name of white supremacy. We must continue to hold our elected officials accountable for their complicity in the cleansing and killing of Palestinians and all indigenous peoples, and also for the ecocide of our planet. A core Jewish value is pikuach nefesh, which means prioritizing life above all else. The Talmud, the central text of Rabbinic Judaism, says that because humans are all descended from a single life, taking a single life is like destroying the entire world. It is our spiritual and human obligation to protect as many lives as we can, because every single life, every single beautiful world in Palestine is sacred and has the right not only to exist, but to self-determine and be free.
From the river to the sea!
From the river to the sea!
Palestine will be free!
Palestine will be free! Resistance is justified! When people are occupied! Resistance is justified! If you don't have a media, I kick you out. Free, free, free Free Palestine! Free Palestine! From the sea to the river!
من المية للمية